Hi, this is Miguel Valenzuela, creator of PancakeBot. Today we're going to be going over software for PancakeBot, the Pancake Painter, version 1.00. Now, we still have a lot of things to do to improve upon this, but we're going to go ahead and do what we can with the software that we got. I'm going to show you some tips on how to make some really cool pancakes. Being that it's Super Bowl Sunday, I'm going to go ahead and make a Bronco logo pancake. And they're going to start off by importing the image for tracing. So let's see, we're going to find our Bronco's image here. Now I'm going to go ahead and resize this because I want a smaller pancake, something that'll print out a little bit faster. And so now I'm resizing it by taking the small little controller on the side there, and we're going to go ahead and slide it over to the left. Now, once I do that, I can go ahead and click anywhere and get out of the image editor. Now we're going to go ahead and choose the darker color to lay out the layout. Now, before I start this, there's a couple of things we can do to handle the fill and the outline. If we do the line work on the outside first, what happens is that when you go to fill it, the complex pattern makes it a little bit difficult to fill. But if we do an outer border and then do a fill for that and then come back and do the line work later, then it actually makes it a lot easier to do the fill. So we're basically going to overlap the fill over the line work. So first of all, let's do the fill for the mane of the Bronco. Now we're going to go ahead and trace over the outline of the Bronco mane. Now notice I'm not going into the actual portions in the middle there. We're just going to go along the full outside of it. Now what we'll go ahead and do is finish this up and go ahead and connect to that line there. So now we're going to go ahead and fill this in with a lighter color and go ahead and get the bucket fill. And we fill that up, so now we got a nice little fill. So now we'll choose our arrow tool and we'll go ahead and move that fill to the side. Now we'll go ahead and take that line work and delete it. Now we want to create the white fill for the rest of the Bronco. So now what we're going to do is we're going to outline the rest of the Bronco head there. Now notice we're not doing any of the line work inside, we're just doing the actual outside of the fill. We'll move that over. Now we have both of our fills. Now we're going to go ahead and do the line work that's actually going to be what's going to be drawn out on the pancake. Now notice how right here, instead of connecting there, I'm going to go ahead and extend it a little bit further, and so that's going to allow it to overlap just in case when the line starts there's a little bit of extra batter or the batter doesn't dispense immediately. That typically happens if you've had the batter or if you had the bottle on the griddle or over the griddle for a little bit of time between pancakes. So now we'll go ahead and do the rest of the fill here, or not the fill, but the outline of the Bronco. And notice I'm just going ahead and tracing over these areas and filling a little bit in by hand myself rather than doing an actual fill with the fill bottle. Now we're going to come over here and we're going to go ahead and on the nose here, what I wanted to do is expand the line work, and then I can modify the line work once it's expanded, and then once this is done, we'll go ahead down and shrink it down, and then we'll go ahead and move it into the location that we have. So that allows us to create a little bit more precision. So now we have our outline. So now what we're going to do is this outline is going to come down first on the PancakeBot. Now we're going to go ahead and drag our fills over that line work, because then the fill will just cover everything up. So we'll grab it in the middle right here. Try not to grab it over the node or else that'll stretch out a little bit. And move that over to the top of the Bronco. And that's going to put pancake batter over the lines. And now we're going to go ahead and drop that also over the head of the Bronco. And that'll put the pancake batter over the lines. So now we have a really basic fill that also makes the pancake a little bit fluffier. Now we're going to go ahead and look at the adjustments of what we can do for the fill. Now we're going to go to advanced settings up here under the file menu, and what we're looking at is the fill line spacing. The fill line spacing is the amount of spacing between the fill lines. So the lower this number, the lower the spacing is going to be. I like to put mine around 5 or so. It depends on how runny your batter is and how thick of a line you're going to have. The next one is the fill grouping threshold. Now this means how many lines are you going to generate during the fill, like individual lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this to the maximum, which will create the minimum amount of lines. So it'll try and connect as many lines as possible, so you have more of a continuous line. Then you have the fill angle there. I'm going to try 60 degrees on this one right here, and with the Bronco, just because I think the angle would work better with the head there. So we'll go ahead and try 60 on that. Now the seconds between the bottle changes, this determines how dark the colors are going to be between those. I leave it at 10 seconds. If you want to switch bottles out, you might want to put it up to 15. And these control right here how far the head of the bottle travels before it starts dispensing batter. So just go ahead and read up on those a little bit. We'll do a tutorial on those later. So that is done now, and so there might be a little gap there on the top, but that should be okay because it should fill in through the border. We're going to go ahead and export this for printing and save it as a Bronco.GCode file. We'll create a new folder for this. We'll go ahead and call it Bronco.GCode, Broncos.GCode. So now it's exporting the file. So let's go ahead and look at the GCode file for a second, and let's go see what's inside of there. You can open it with a regular text editor. So this is a GCode file that's produced by this, by the PancakeBot. There's no GCode interpreter that you need. Like I said, it's just a regular text file. So let's look at the speed setting right there. G1 F600, 5600. So what that says is that's 5,600 millimeters per minute. So half a meter per minute is the travel distance for that. So we're going to change that to 4,600 to slow it down a little bit. Well, let's go with 3,600. The slower it is, the more precise the lines are going to be. Now, when we go to fill the area, we might be able to increase the speed on that. Now, right now what I'm doing is looking for another set speed to see if there's any others where we can modify the speed. Well, there isn't any because the software hasn't provided that for us yet, but it'll be coming up in an update. So what we're going to do is we're going to increase the speed during the fill process. So what we're going to go ahead and try and find in the GCode is where the next location or where the next bottle fill happens. So we're looking at pump on right there, and we're looking for a pause or a 10-second pause, or bottle switch also. So we'll go ahead and search for that. Again, you can do this with the regular text editor. And coming up on it right here, so there we go, we have a 10-second pause. We could have looked up bottle change, and that'll take us to that code right there. So what we want to do there is after the bottle change, we're going to go ahead and increase the speed. So we're going to set it up from 3,600, we're going to set it up to 5,600. And we'll integrate this into the software later, but so you can learn a little bit of how the GCode works, you can go ahead and do that. The other thing you can do also is when you home the motors and it goes back to the 0 point, it takes a little time to get there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a GCode command and we're going to add it right before it homes the axis. Notice right underneath there it says G28 home all axis. We're going to go ahead and change that on above it to have the motor go to 10 and 10. And what that'll do is that'll make the bottle travel really quickly to the corner, and then it'll home the axis after that. We're going to go ahead and add this to the other bottle changes, and also to the end of the actual print. So we're going to go ahead and copy that code that we just wrote. So that's for the second pause. And then we have the final portion right where the footer is finishing. And those are just some small adjustments that we're making, and that'll help the program run a little bit smoother. So let's go see now how the print looks. Okay, so we've sped up the print a little bit here, and you can notice that it's traveling pretty well. And occasionally I adjust the temperature, or if I need to, I adjust the air pressure. So I've zoomed in a little bit here, and now we're coming back after the delay, and we're doing a fill. Notice how it's overlapping. The fill is overlapping the existing lines. And that's okay, because it just makes for a fluffier pancake, and also for less turning off and turning on. So now again, we're coming through and we are overlapping again. And notice how it jumped right there. That's because there's a couple of different line segments in this fill. Eventually it would be nice to just have a continuous line, so that way it's one continuous fill. There's a little bit of I guess over spray there. And so now it's cooking. We'll give it a quick flip. And there we go, a Bronco pancake.